All right, so in this session, I want to do some fairly serious navigation within our Mandelbulb 3D environment, and I'm going to use the Stream Deck as I had talked about in the previous session, and we're gonna kind of move around. We're going to do some large movements. Now, the first thing I want to do here. You know, if you look at my navigator and you look at my main screen, I'm in pretty close. It's not really quite where I want to be. I want to kind of be out there in the environment, and I want to have a vista, a wide look with lots of depth and interesting patterns and a lot of perspective. So that's what I want. So let's use the Stream Deck and let's navigate around and let's see what we can come up with. All right, I'm sliding up. All right, I'm gonna slide back now, down a little bit. That's an interesting pattern right there, but it's still too closed. Let me push that over to main. We're in too close. I'm gonna back out. All right, I'm gonna back out. Let's see. Let's go the other way. There we go. Okay, there we go. This is a big fractal environment. There we go. Now we're starting to see some sky. In reality, we're not seeing any sky. All right, what we're seeing is, as we talked about in a previous session, we're seeing the far plane, and we're seeing that the Mandelbulb 3D software processing is not rendering anything beyond the far plane. So we're not seeing sky there. What we're seeing is a lack of rendering of the fractal. But you can think of it as sky if you want, but it's not. It's actually an absence of rendering within this scene. But I had walked out so far that I had gotten something like that. Well, I really walked out on that one. Wow. Okay. I am really. Look how far I've walked out. Oh, now this is interesting. You're going to love this. I forget which session it was, but I had warned you that you could be doing certain things, and all of a sudden your far plane is now all of a sudden a wholly different number. Now, if you recall, just a minute ago, we were sitting here and we were navigating around, and that far plane was 4,999. I went over and tweaked something, and all of a sudden I've got a far plane of 9. And look what happened. All of a sudden I'm thrown off. So if I continue without paying attention to this far plane and fixing it, I'm just, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So like I had warned, one of the caveats of the Mandelbulb 3D is that from time to time, and you don't know when or why, that far plane will all of a sudden change. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but whatever the reason is, when that far plane changes, it disrupts my work. Now, I happen to remember that I was at 4,999. Now, isn't that better? Isn't that better? All right, remember I was talking about the sky, not really the sky, and all of a sudden I went over here and I changed something. I navigated, and then poof, now I've got 9 in the far plane. All right, so fair warning. What I do is I write that far plane down on a piece of paper and I remind myself to continuously look down here so that all of a sudden I don't have good work just tossed away for whatever reason it changes that far plane. Let's continue. Okay, so I'm in the process of trying to navigate. Now I'm going to slide up. I'm going to slide up. I'm going to walk backward. I'm going to walk backward. I'm looking for a nice vista scene. Here we go. Okay. I want something with a lot of, I want something that is epic. Okay. All right, so let me slide right. Maybe I can do something with that gap. No, the gap just went away. My far plane is still 49.99. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm going to walk out some more. There we go. Okay. Now remember I talked about this zoom, this automatic zoom. I talked about that way back in episode 4, session 14. So this zoom here, look at that. Every time I'm walking back now, every time I do that, the zoom changes. The Mandelbulb software is attempting to help me by continuously modifying that zoom to try to keep the fractal within view and not clipping. So it's helpful, but I need to be aware that there's more going on here than me just simply walking back. Now I'm walking with the mouse now. All right, but I'm too far back here. Let me walk back in. You know, look at the zoom. The zoom is doing its thing. Now let's push this over to main and see what we've got. It's not quite epic enough. All right, so I'm gonna continue to walk out. All right, I'm walking way out here. Oof. Now, see all of this? Now this is the far plane. It won't see anymore. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to change that far plane to 10,000. Oops. 10,000. Didn't really help me. I'm going to slide over. I'm looking for a good vantage point for... Okay, now this is interesting. Now I'm going to look up. I'm using my Stream Deck. I don't have to. Don't feel that you have to go out and get yourself a Stream Deck, because you can do that. You could look up with the I key, you know, all right, or you could look up with the mouse button. You don't need the Stream Deck. It's just, I like it. All right, let's push that to main. Let's see what we got. Still a little bit too close, a little bit too confining. I'm going to walk out some more. This is a huge, huge fractal object. Now let's see what I got here. Push that over to main, calculate it. Interesting. Okay. Now, we're going to end this session here in a minute. But keep in mind a couple more things that I have, a couple more settings that I have. I have a field of view of 50. And we talked about the field of view in session 15. I also have the standard camera selected. And of course I have a field view of 10,000 in this particular case. So the field of view and the camera selected and the far plane, of course, have something to do with this particular view. Let's change that to a wider view. I changed that to 30. Field of view was changed to 30. Okay. All right. Let's get crazy here. Change the field of view to 90. Push that over to main. Okay. All right. I haven't quite found my model. I haven't found a scene that's similar to my model, but that's okay. We continue to work on it. So in this session, we talked about some, what would you call it, speed navigation. And as you can see here, I drew way back out, get an idea of where I'm at, how much fractal object I have to work with, or what kind of a fractal environment that I'm in that I have to work with, just kind of exploring. And then I periodically would just take and push it over to main, see what I got. It's really just a process of flying around until you find that perspective that works for you, and then you start further developing that perspective. Again, now we're still working on the graphic. We're not touching lighting. We're not interested in animation. Nothing like that. We're still working on our graphic. All right, so I'll see you in the next session, and we'll continue this project. I'll see you there.